with top trainer Ben Davison. Ben, I just want you to lock in for a second if you can. Reflect on that discussion you had with me over in Dubai about changing the mindset of a boxer. I found this fascinating. If a boxer's doing well with a double jab and he thinks he's doing well, you might want to change that. The question is, does he buy into that?
Yeah, so I can't remember exactly what we was talking about, but for example, if you become too predictable, so for example, people often associate a fast jab with a good jab, but if it's constantly the same pace, pew, 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 same timing, that becomes predictable, able to counter. So you constantly have to, the goal is to be unpredictable, variety. You create a rhythm and then you break a rhythm. That's what the best fighters do. We was just having a discussion there about
Anthony Joshua.
Anthony Joshua
Usyk.
talking about, I often get associated with overcomplicating things, and people say the most neglected part of boxing is inside fighting now and this and that. But for me, it's positioning. If you can't control the ring, how are you going to control the opponent? He was so fixated on the fairy tale textbook foot on the outside, southpaw orthodox. Well, look at what happened when Usyk knocked out Tony Bellew. His foot was on the inside. But so focused on trying to get his foot on the outside, he constantly allowed Usyk back to the centre of the ring. Anthony Joshua's not going to win the battle in the middle of the ring, clearly. So he has to be able to control the ring. He has to be able to make Usyk work harder than Usyk wants to work. And if he can control the ring and create scenarios, because that's what wins fights, is scenarios that favour Anthony Joshua, then he has a chance. But to be able to do that, he has to control the areas of the ring and where the fighting takes place.
So he's got to change it the way he goes about it this time, Joshua.
Oh, for sure. I think that there's...
So what does he do? What do you want him to do?
I think exactly that. He has to be able to control the ring. He has to make Usyk work at a faster pace than what he wants to. Don't get me wrong, orthodox southpaw, there's always going to be an element of lead hand and a bit of lead hand play to the battle of southpaw orthodox. But, to be stood in the middle of the ring and allow Usyk to dictate, he's never going to dictate and win that lead hand battle at that tempo. It's never going to happen. He'll get out-thought and therefore out-fought. But if Joshua can control the areas of the ring, push Usyk back, make him skirt around, make him break his base, attack when he breaks his base, he's going to have a lot easier entries, a lot safer entries, and he'll land cleaner more often.
That makes sense to me, Simon.
Does it make any sense? I mean, I'm careful to choose my words because I know that you won't want to compromise your relationship with other people. Can you make any sense of the relationship between Rob McCracken and Anthony Joshua and the representation of that in the fight against Usyk? Because the only way Anthony Joshua was to lose that fight was to fight the way he did, which was to fight Usyk's best fight. Now, the conventional wisdom was Anthony Joshua, bigger, stronger man in there, go put it on Usyk and do the things that you're good at. Gun-shy Joshua now, because he's been knocked down and is looking at legacies and all that sort of nonsense rather than the fight that's in front of him. Can you make any case for what happened in that fight and understand it for us? Because we all look at it going, what?
Yeah, sometimes, I think there's what often people don't take into consideration is sometimes the fighter doesn't quite go out there and do what you ask him to do. That situation and scenario can happen.
But you change it, though.
I don't know if that's the case. And sometimes, there is definitely a case of right, adjustments need to be made. But sometimes, if a fighter's got it already in his head, this is how I'm going to go about the fight, making that adjustment, they're just not going to make it. Sometimes there is that scenario. No matter what I'm asking for, they are not going to make that adjustment. So then you have to look for something else.
That's a problem in a relationship then, isn't it?
I think what Anthony Joshua had done wrong in that fight was, and I spoke to Josh about this as well, that he went out there and he thought that he was trying to outbox one of the best boxers in the world. And that's where he tactically got it wrong. And he couldn't make those adjustments and he couldn't adapt because once Usyk got into a rhythm, it was Joshua fighting on the back foot and he couldn't implement the stuff that would have won him for the fight. And the stuff that would have won him the fight was the rawness and his strength and his speed of power. And he should have took Usyk out of a rhythm.
What would you add to that, Ben?
He allowed him to get into the rhythm.
What would you add to that?
So, for example, the conversation that we was having, there was so many times. So when I say dictating and the lead hand, Usyk was often creating a lead hand rhythm that we was talking about. Joshua, not being as intelligent as Usyk, was then mirroring that same lead hand rhythm, and Usyk was often then breaking it, and that's what was catching Anthony Joshua out. Usyk would create a rhythm, Joshua would match it, mirroring his opponent, which often that happens when a fighter subconsciously or sometimes consciously knows the opponent is slightly better than them, they'll often find themselves mirroring what that opponent is doing. Usyk was creating a rhythm with his lead hand. Joshua was mirroring it. Usyk was breaking it and getting caught out every single time.
And you said that Usyk's more intelligent than Joshua.
Yeah, for sure. When it comes to that element of the game, for sure.
Go on,
Ben,
Spencer.
I wanted to ask you a question, mate. It's quite an interesting one. When would you have told Joshua to roll the dice in that fight? Because the fight was slipping away from him. We could see it. And that was from the opening round, really. And as the fight was going on, fight was wearing on, Joshua was getting more negative and allowing Usyk to pick up the rhythm even more. And then Joshua was even starting to get hurt. At what point in the corner, in what sort of round, around that sort of area, would you have said, you know what, Josh, you got to roll the dice here, mate, and go and take the fight to him because it's or bust?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because to be honest with you, he got it with a left hand that stunned him in the first 10 seconds or 15 seconds.
Yeah, he did.
And
see, I would have said, like, when we got into like the sort of like the 8, 9, 10 rounds, by the time we hit round 10, I would have said to Joshua, and I've said this to him as well, I would have said, mate, you need to rip up the script now and take the fight straight to him, knock out or get knocked out, because you're not going to win the fight. Because he was slowly and systematically getting broken down, wasn't he?
Given where we are now, does he beat Usyk next time round? And if he does or doesn't, does he beat Tyson when he eventually lands in the ring with Tyson, if he ever does?
I think with the right tactics, Joshua has the capabilities to win the fight versus Usyk.
Yep.
I do. With the right game plan, the right preparation. Is he capable of winning? Yes. Do I think he's going to win? Probably not. But it's not, I'd love to see him win.
And move him into Tyson.
Exactly. I'd love to see him win because I'd love to see that fight.
And what happens there?
This is the thing, whenever we talk about Tyson Fury, my answer is always I don't know, because we don't know how he's so versatile. Mm-hmm. We just don't know how he's going to approach the fight. When all this is going to put Wilder on the back foot, everybody was thinking, nah, you're not going to do that. But he went and done it. Mm-hmm. We've seen him box southpaw on the back foot. We've seen him box, orthodox on the back foot. We've seen him. He's so versatile. We've seen what a brilliant inside fighter for a man of that size.
I can't make a case for Joshua beating Fury. Can you make a case for him beating Fury?
Anything can happen in the heavyweight division.
Sure.
And Joshua's not bad on the inside. Strong, good mid-range, carries power throughout his combinations, and he's always dangerous because obviously he can punch. But I think with the right, Tyson goes about the fight in the right mindset. I think obviously
he would win it. So before that, Fury's got to fight White. Do you give White a chance?
Again, everybody's in for a shot. It's so easy to overlook because a fighter's on a run, but again,
do you give him a chance? Stop padding it.
Yeah.
Do you reckon Dillian White can beat Tyson Fury? Because I don't.
Is he capable of winning? Yes. Do I think he's going to win? No.
Right.
But Tyson can't afford to fall in with his right hand. Dillian White, brilliant catch counter left hook. Can that put any heavyweight to sleep? Of course it can. So you make that mistake and create that scenario where Dillian White can catch counter with his left hook and you're falling in with your right hand. Is he capable of winning? Of course.
We're getting through this. I've got to ask you, and you can be as diplomatic as you like. What happened with you and Fury? Why are you still not in his corner?
Business decisions. There was at the time he wanted to make some changes. I had other fighters approaching me that I wanted to work with me, and it just made sense for us to part our ways. But one thing that very important to me is often you see fighters and coaches part ways, and that relationship just becomes sour. And you can always see it, no matter what they say. And they might say nice things about each other, but deep down, they don't want to see each other succeed. And when one of them fails, the boot always gets put in. But with me and Tyson, that's never the case. I want to see him succeed. He wants to see me succeed. We still speak to each other. Forever grateful for what we done for each other, because it was a swings both ways type relationship. Both done fantastic things for each other. And I always want to see him, success. He's a great person as well as a great fighter.
Well said.
Ben, it's been brilliant having you in the studio. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. Ben Davison with us this lunchtime. Spence, thanks so much from the Northeast, mate. Why, lad?